then. Welcome and good evening. Call to order the City of San Clemente Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, held at the City Council Chambers. And we have all commissioners present with the exception of two. Commissioner McCacken and Commissioner Davis are absent. All other commissioners are present. Tonight, we're honoring one of our colleagues for his 14 years of service, and we've had a little reception for him tonight, and I just want to thank all those that came early and attended that. Our next order of business is going to be the pledge, and in order to do that tonight, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have Fletcher Maxwell lead us in the pledge with his grandfather, Commissioner Bart Crandall. So if you'd all recognize Fletcher and Commissioner Crandall.
For me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Outstanding. Thank you. So as I had just mentioned, we serve terms, 2-year terms, and so at the end of June is the end of a term, and Commissioner Crandall's term is ending in June, and he has elected to not continue and move on to the next chapter with his beautiful family that's here tonight. And we wanted to honor Bart tonight because he has served this community with dedication for 14 years on the Planning Commission, as well as other duties. He's been a very important member of our Design Review Subcommittee, which is part of this group, but meets on opposite Wednesdays in a conference room to go over detailed architectural plans with applicants. And that is where we've really relied heavily on Bart's acumen as an architect to really lead the city's design discussion. And Bart really has been a leader, played a key role in shaping what this community looks like. A lot of the buildings you see around town go through that design review subcommittee, then come here, and Bart's influence is all over the place. It's all over town. And so it's a very high honor for me to be the chair, to be able to recognize Bart's contributions. So what I'd like to do at this point is, in our agenda, we do have this special order of business to make the presentation. So I'm going to invite all my colleagues and Bart to come on down so I can make a presentation to Bart. I'd also like to welcome his family to come up with us too.
Where's he going to be?
Where can I get a microphone? Maybe I'll just speak into this and we'll just gather on this. Okay, does this work? Yeah. Okay, well, this is a very special night, so for all those that are here for your regular business, thank you for being here tonight to observe this recognition. 14 years is a long time to serve in this basically volunteer position. And it's just, you do it out of love, and you do it with dedication and heart, and no one's done it as good as Bart Crandall. And it's an honor for me to present this resolution to him, and I just would like to read it to the audience, because I think it sums up exactly why we're honoring Bart tonight. So it starts out by the City of San Clemente. Whereas the Planning Commission of the City of San Clemente recognizes and honors Barton, or we like to call him Bart Crandall, as a respected architect for 14 years of outstanding service as a planning commissioner since his appointment in July of 2021. And whereas Bart's fairness, his professionalism, and collaborative style left a lasting impact through his design expertise, thoughtful guidance to countless applicants, and dedication to upholding the city's architectural heritage. And whereas, as a strong advocate for San Clemente's Spanish Village by the Sea identity, Bart helped shape quality development aligned with the city's values, earning respect and a deep appreciation of his fellow commissioners, the city staff, and really the entire community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Planning Commission of the City of San Clemente hereby expresses its sincere gratitude to Barton Crandall for his exemplary and dedicated public service and for the lasting contributions he has made to the beauty, the character, and the legacy of the City of San Clemente. Would you all please help me congratulate and thank Bart?
This is harder than talking about a project. He made it sound like I came into this position knowing exactly what I was doing and what not. And I did have a background, but I was mentored by some of the best people I've ever met on a planning commission. And a lot of them are here, Wayne and Michael Kopp and Miss Anderson and who else we got here? Julia Darden. Who else was, and Kathy Ward. Don Brown, and there's a little of every one of them in what I did. And I appreciate that very much, and as much as, so they deserve just as much credit as I do, because we all kind of grew together. So thank you very much, and I loved every minute of it.
So, a couple more things. Bart, we do have one more gift for you from your colleagues here in the current Planning Commission. We wanted to just give you a little token of our affection.
Thank you very much.
And with that, I'd like to invite all of the former colleagues and staff that would please come up here and join us for a large group photo to honor Bart. That would be wonderful if we could all kind of assemble up here.
I survived.
You see,
There needs to be another line here.
Yeah. Can you get everybody, Tamara? Okay.
That wide angle lens.
Planning staff is having a planning.
There you go. I have a wide angle. Okay, good. I'm gonna take a few. All right.
And did you want to get one?
Yeah, one behind you too, Tamara.
That's from the San Clemente Times. Sure, no. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Angelica, for coming. You'll do well. Hey, how are you, dear?
Thank you for such kind words.
Oh, absolutely. He deserved every one of them. He deserved more than that. That's the best I could do.
Very well done.
Nice to
Very
meet
proud
you.
of
You
this
should be
group.
very proud of your grandfather. He's a great guy. Okay.
It was fun.
Nice to meet you.
Such an honor.
Well, it's an honor working with you too.
What's that? I have no idea. He can certainly take it if it's up to me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, we do ask for your signature on the little mat, the photo mat in the back. If you haven't signed it, that would be great on your way out. Please just sign your name as a token of being here tonight. That was well-deserved, Bart. I'm so happy we could do that. I want to do one more acknowledgement. As I indicated, we do have the terms that turn over every year. So the way it works is we have 7 members, so 3 positions were up this year, then next year 4 positions will be up, and that's every other year, seats are, your seat is up. So the city council made appointments yesterday. We had 3 seats up, and we have 3 appointments. So we have Steve Camp, who is to my left. He was reappointed, and congratulations to you, Commissioner Camp, for being reappointed.
Yes.
Happy to hear that. Also tonight in the audience is Brett Freeman. Brett, could you stand? He is our newly appointed planning commissioner and will be joining us. Yeah, I invited him to come tonight, and I thank you for taking that invitation and being here. We wanted to welcome you to our family and our group. So when we start the beginning of the next fiscal year or term, Brett will be seated up here. And then we have one more, Patrick Griffin, I think it is. He was appointed, and I think he's out of town, so he wouldn't be able to be here. So those are we new planning commissioners, and Bart, you will remain a legend, and
Or a myth.
yeah.
Do you want to allow members of the audience to?
Yeah, we'll get the public comment. Yeah, you bet. So, yeah, I do want to invite people to make comments. So that is item number 6. We're going to move to item number 5, which is our minutes. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at them? And do we have any suggested changes for the minutes? Or are we good?
I have one minor comment.
Okay.
I'm not listed as being present, but I was.
Oh. Tamara, can we just do an amendment to that? Okay, so I'm going to move approval of the minutes as amended to include Commissioner McCann.
Second?
You seconded, okay. Now, we have, Steve, you were not here, so I don't think you can vote on it.
Right.
And Commissioner Prescott Loeffler was not here, but she informs me she did review the meeting on the YouTube, so she can vote on that. So I'll just ask all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, fantastic, so that passes. All right, that takes us to public comments. That's our next item on the agenda, and item 6. So this is the opportunity for any member of the audience or the public to speak to the Planning Commission on any non-agenda item. And because this is Bart's last meeting, I wanted to invite, in particular, any of his former colleagues that are still here that would like to say a few words about Bart to please, this would be the opportunity now during public comments. So I'll start by recognizing former mayor, former council member, and former planning commissioner Kathy Ward. Kathy, welcome, and thank you for being here tonight to honor our colleague and soon former colleague, Mr. Crandall.
And friend.
And friend, yes.
Thank you for letting me start it off. I just want to say, Bart, it has been such a pleasure to have worked with you. I think about 18 months on the Plan Commission. I came on in 2012. General plan, wow, you're trying to plan for the future of a city, how it can grow for 20 years. That was amazing, and you taught me so much. There were times where I didn't understand things. I had to catch up, and I read everything. I mean, you know that. But I had questions. And one thing that you did for me is certain architectural terms and different things, you would explain them. You would explain it to all of us, and it made it so much easier. I think one of my favorite times is when you led a walk around on the T-zone, and we looked at all of how we could build things and what would be inviting, and I can't remember now what it's called, when from the street it makes you want to go in. I cannot remember what that is called. You went through that with us. You tried to explain something so obscure as form-based codes. which that was a season we went through, and none of us knew what that was, but you held a class on that, and we did that. But there's so many projects that are in town now that you helped, and you helped us see with the architecture what our design guidelines, what they mean, what actually could be done. And I think that's what was the best thing is, what are these for? What do they allow? And that's the hard thing when you're on the Planning Commission. You look at design guidelines and you're not sure how two buildings can tie together or something, but you could explain it. You made it through all the votes every 2 years to still be on the Planning Commission. There's a reason for that. So congratulations on that. 14 years is a long time. I want to thank your family and your wife for sharing you with us, because our city is better for it. And I really appreciate all that you've done to protect and build our city, just a city that we want to live in. I appreciate that very much. Congratulations. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
You're
And I want to say thank you for it was great working with you, and you were part of all those decisions when we were on the board, so
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
worked well together.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, I'd like to recognize another former mayor, another former council member, and another former planning commissioner, Wayne Eggleston.
Hi, Bart. I don't know if you know it or not, but all of us signed a petition in the other room to keep you here for another 14 years.
Well, I'm going to be in town, so.
Oh, good, good. Well, you have to still become involved. Kathy and I are still involved in the city, much to Jonathan's dismay, I'm sure. So, but I was on the city council for 12 years, and then I went to planning commission for some odd reason. And I was in there for 4, 2 of which I was on the design review with you. And I must say, what professionalism you brought to the design review, what knowledge you brought. It was just incredible. And you're just your demeanor of working with applicants and developers and showing them what our requirements are, which has made our Spanish Village by the Sea what it is today. Cameron mentioned that, in fact, your mark is certainly part of the many buildings in this city, and it certainly is. And without your leadership and your wisdom and your foresight, San Clemente would not be what it is like today. But so thank you so very much. And thank you for your family that's is here today. And certainly thank you for all of the planning commissioners that have been here and so forth. It's just great. And thanks for staff. Staff has been incredible, to say the least. Christopher, and Zach, and Jonathan, and all the rest, and it's just incredible. It's just really, we have a wonderful staff that works with you. And certainly Adam has been just so knowledgeable. So listen, thank you so much, Bart. Keep staying involved. Don't be a stranger in town. Just be like Kathy and myself. We're at city council meetings and telling them what they're failing in all the time. So, stay with us. Thank you.
I will, and thank you, Wayne. I mean, it's easy to work with people who have bought into the same vision of what San Clemente can be, and we have the same goal and continue to have the same goal, and keep the city improving and being what the citizens visioned it at in the Vision San Clemente document back during the general plan.
Yes.
era.
And the city council needs to pick that up and read it every so often, don't they?
We all do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Wayne and Kathy. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to make any comments? Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone who came out tonight to help recognize Bart's remarkable contributions, and we're just going to continue on with the meeting. Yes,
If we want to say things, should we say them now or later?
what's that?
If we want to say things, should we say them now or
Oh, it's up to you. I mean, if you,
later?
yeah, I think it towards the end would be good.
After the
Yeah.
items?
Yeah. Okay, We're going to move on to item 7, which is our consent calendar. We have none tonight. So item 8 is public hearings. We've got 2 public hearings, and before we kick those off, actually, I think we've got 3 public hearings tonight. I want to recognize Zach, who is filling in for our city planner tonight. Zach, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight. Let Jonathan have the night off. That's your cue to leave, Jonathan. And glad you're here. Thank you. So item 8A, that's our first of 3 public hearings, and this is project 25-065. It's the 7-Eleven full alcohol off-site sales, and it's a request for a conditional use permit, 25-135, and that is to allow this for the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption off premises. And that's a type 21 license. It's also for us tonight to consider whether this project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. And this 7-Eleven is located at 502 North El Camino Real. It's in a neighborhood commercial 2 zone district, and it has an architectural overlay, but the main thing is it's in a neighborhood commercial. And with that, I'm going to recognize David Carrillo. He's our planner and on our professional staff that is going to make the presentation of the staff report tonight.
Chair, can we do disclosures first, please?
Yes, thank you for that. Does anybody have any ex parte communications or disclosures? Okay, with that, I'm going to open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. David, I want to recognize you to lead us off with the staff report.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good evening, Commissioners. I would like to present one presentation that would include 2 conditional use permits. It would be for this item that you just introduced and would be for the following item, 8B. If the Commission is
So
okay.
let me just you want to just combine them?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just, and will we just discuss them together? Is that what or we're going to have to act on them separately, but we'll just take one staff report.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, we're just going to do them one at a time, but just for my colleagues here, we're going to get one staff report for 2 items. Okay, but we're going to do 2 separate public hearings, just,
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So as mentioned, the first conditional use permit is at 502 North El Camino Real, and the second is at 1118 South El Camino Real. 502 North El Camino Real is located north of T-Zone. T-Zone is partially highlighted in the map here on the screen, and the subject site is where the star is. Zoning was already read by the chair, and then we also have a close-up view of the property to the right. The 1118 South El Camino Real site is located further south on El Camino Real. I have 2 green dots on the screen. The green dot on the top is the Santiago Mixed Use Building, and the green dot at the bottom is the Shoreline Building, just to give some context. The zoning for this property is Mixed Use 3.2, and also within the architectural and housing overlay districts. And then again, we have a close-up view of the property to the right. So the background here is similar for both. Per ABC, they've been operating since 1990 with the Type 20 license. At that time, in 1990, there was no requirement on the city side for a conditional use permit. So there is no conditional use permit currently at the site. However, they're still deemed to be legally operating with current beer and wine sales. The business hours are 24 hours daily, with alcohol sales hours from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. as allowed per state law. And so the request for both properties is to add the sale of distilled spirits to their current sales of beer and wine, and that would require a Type 21 ABC license. This includes a secured display within a locked-in cabinet on the sales floor of each store, and they're not proposing any change to the alcohol sales hours. Moving on to the analysis, this use is conditionally permitted in both zones. In the staff report, there is acknowledgement on the public perception that this type of use, a convenience store with alcohol sales, can lead to illegal drinking of alcoholic beverages on site. We have not received any public comments on this. However, in analyzing this with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, they did confirm citations across the city, not any of the specific sites here, that were related to either drinking on site or nearby these sites here. OCSD did state that they don't believe this would be a significant change to this type of behavior in adding the hard alcohol sales to both 7-Elevens. We also did have ABC review this, and they confirmed that there would be no over-concentration, which would not require a finding of public convenience and necessity. And we also did have code enforcement review this request, and were supportive. They did state that there were previous unrelated code complaints as well at both sites. The code complaints were not, or code cases were not related to the drinking on site. So given that staff is aware of this potential impact on site and nearby, we did add project-specific conditions of approval that relate to the maintenance of signage that prohibits drinking on site. We also added a condition that requires adequate lighting and surveillance cameras to be maintained in an operable fashion, and that the recordings be available to the city upon request. Staff would also like to include additional conditions of approval related to the compliance review that would be triggered by complaints or violations. This would require it would allow the community development director to bring back the conditional use permit to Planning Commission to review the project's compliance, and potentially require that the applicant hire private security during peak hours, or possibly even modify the alcohol sales hours as well. The second condition would require daily cleaning of the site to remove any signs of alcohol consumption, and also maintenance of the signage. There are some signs currently on site that are not as legible as we would want, so this helps address that to make sure that the signs are easy, clear and legible. And then lastly, the staff would like to add a condition that prohibits the sales of miniature spirits smaller than 375 milliliters. So in conclusion, both conditional use permits are consistent with the municipal code, the purpose and intent of each respective zone, and the San Clemente General Plan. And therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission determine the projects are categorically exempt from CEQA and approve the project subject to conditions and additional conditions recommended by staff. And we do have the applicants available for any questions as well.
And I just want to note, the applicant has reviewed these 3 additional conditions that are proposed by staff that are not in the staff report. The applicant is agreeable to these 3 additional conditions, and if the public would like to view, there's copies in the back of the room of these 3 new conditions.
We have the copy of it up here too, so this is well organized. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zach, for doing that. Does that conclude your presentation, David?
Yes, that concludes it.
Okay. Does the applicant want to be heard? Welcome, sir. We have a 10-minute rule for applicants in the public hearing. Is that all right with you, 10 minutes?
That'll be more than enough.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you mind if you could just introduce yourself to us for the record and take your time?
Sure. My name is Bruce Evans. I represent 7-Eleven. I have with me tonight Gevik Horatuni. He has been the franchisee for 29 years at the 502 North El Camino store. And Vikram Singh is here with his family, and he's been there for 16 years at the 1118 South El Camino store. So I'll start first by thanking David, thanking the planning department, Zach. They've been tremendous to work with throughout this process, very professional, very responsive. Before we ever started and filed the application, several months earlier, we had reached out to planning staff. We also reached out to the sheriff's department, spoke with Sergeant Streeter, wanted to make sure, because we have to buy these liquor licenses, that there were no major red flags or opposition on the horizon. Very pleased to get positive feedback, so we proceeded. Very grateful for the positive staff report, the comments from the sheriff's department. I think everything is in the staff report. The conditions are agreeable. We had a conversation a day or two ago about the additional conditions. I think those are well thought out conditions, generally consistent with what the stores would do anyway. The one point I would make is that this is the addition of the spirits is going to be very controlled. This is not going to morph into anything like a liquor store. This would generally be about a 4-foot wide display only in a locked cabinet on the sales floor. So, you know, roughly the size of this podium or a little smaller. They're not going to give up all of the other products that are essential to being a one-stop shop at these stores to sell a bunch of liquor. That's not what this is about. This is just about adding another item that can make it convenient for customers. Not going to sell the small bottles per the condition. So again, very confined, very restricted, no direct accessibility by customers, and happy to answer any questions.
Great. I think that was very clear, so thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Camp?
Yeah, just a couple things. David, you mentioned there were some complaints unrelated to alcohol sales. What were those?
Yeah, there were previous complaints. There were, for the 502 site, they were related to trash and graffiti in 2020 and 2021. And then for the 1118 site, they were related to property maintenance and a water leak in 2022, 2023, and earlier this year in January.
Okay, so there's going to be a sign, on the building that says, that I guess dictates that no alcohol will be consumed. Is that going to be on the door or on the?
So there's a condition that requires this. Here's an example of what's at 502 right now. There's a sign to the right on the screen. And this also shows how some of it is covered with stickers. So one of the additional conditions addresses keeping the signage in an legible manner. But this type of sign is required through another condition to be posted at the front, on the side, and at the rear of each building.
Oh, okay, so that's
Yeah.
it there on the left?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so this would be inspected by the owner in the morning, or it says they have to inspect every day. Is that realistic?
I think the daily inspection is more for litter and debris or potentially alcohol bottles that people leave behind to keep their entire sort of parking lot and front street in a good condition.
Okay.
The signage, we have a general condition that says you have to keep your sign clear of graffiti and stickers.
Yeah, on an ongoing basis.
Let's see if
Yeah.
the applicant, did you want to respond to is that a reasonable thing, the daily inspection? Did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I would say totally reasonable. It's also a state law requirement for your ABC license that you have to post no loitering signage. I believe it is even so specific that lettering has to be a minimum of a 2-inch letter, if I recall. So it'd be a city requirement and an ABC requirement.
Okay. And that'll be enforced by the sheriff,
It's probably code of compliance.
that's code compliance.
Yeah, code enforcement.
Okay. That's all I have.
Is there any other, Bart or Karen, did you have questions for the applicant
Very clear.
or staff?
I have a question for staff.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your comments. Yeah, let's go ahead and,
Yeah.
Commissioner, yeah.
So what's wrong with the miniature spirits?
The idea behind that is that they're smaller in nature compared to your regular size bottle, making it more accessible, right? They're also cheaper in price, which can also just encourage more, I guess, possession of that. Easier to access, store, and move around with them. So, and prohibiting the smaller bottles, staff is thinking that that can reduce the illegal drinking on site or nearby.
Okay, I mean, I don't drink at all, but it seems to me like if anything, we're restricting larger, sizes. I don't see the connection between restricting miniatures, but whatever the commission wants to do.
Commissioner Prescott-Loeffler?
What would be the most expensive brand that would be carried, and how much?
We might
Bruce,
need
you
the
have that?
applicant for that question, right? Do we need the applicant to answer that?
Yes.
Do you mind coming up to the podium and doing your best to address the commissioner's question about the brand,
Yeah,
if you can?
I'm just chuckling because of the other commissioner's comment that he doesn't drink, and even though I'm a land use attorney with a specialty in alcohol, I don't drink either. So prices, I'd be struggling. What I can tell you is typically what the store would sell would be a mainstream alcoholic beverage like a Smirnoff vodka or a Jose Cuervo tequila, and that would be in the standard 750 milliliter size or one size below that. So I think, you're talking the $10 to $20 range would be pretty typical of what we would see. I made a trip to Bevmo the other day because I had to understand what the sizes were, because we had a condition on for another store that was very specific to the sizes, and that's the price range that I saw. So I think these are generally mainstream beverages. In a 4-foot cabinet, they're not going to sell single malt whiskey, probably, at a store like this. So very middle of the road products and middle of the road pricing. That's the best answer I could give you.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody else? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
David, did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
No.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead. Can I close the public hearing? Or we
Chair, real fast. I don't think we asked for public comments.
You're
I don't
right. I
think there are any,
apologize for
but
that. I didn't have any cards, but yeah, let me do that. Is there any member of the public that wants to address the commission on this item? Okay, I didn't think so. We didn't have any public comments, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing's closed. So discussion or a motion. We're going to just do one at a time, so this would be for the first item, the one on 502 North El Camino Real.
I'm supportive of the items generally. I'm just curious how my fellow commissioners feel about the miniature size restriction.
Okay. Does anybody have any thoughts they want to share on that? Commissioner Crandall?
Yeah, I understand the concept of not having the miniature ones because it's a quick buy and a quick drink it on the way out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that that's the big money maker for the store, so I think that condition
Makes sense.
makes sense.
I agree. It is kind of a best practice to minimize the on-site. We want to discourage the on-site drinking, so this is really a best practice to do that. So I'm supportive of all three of these. So is there any other discussion? Does someone want to make a motion then?
I'll make motion.
Okay.
You want to make two separate motions?
Yeah, I'm going to actually we've closed this public hearing. I just want to do it on the one. then we're going to open the public hearing on the other one.
Okay.
Just go through it. People can just, we go through the motions, make sure we have, public has an opportunity to comment, and then we'll just run through it.
Okay,
So let's just do it for the one, please.
so, which one is this? Regarding public hearing, project 25-065 for 7-Eleven sales, CUP 25-135 at 502 North El Camino Real. I move that we approve staff recommendations as written in the staff report, including the amended 3 additional conditions as discussed.
Did you talk about it's an existing project, so it's categorically exempt?
I didn't. Do I need to read all those? I was just saying, per the recommendations.
Oh, okay, the full staff recommendation, that includes the
Includes the
exemption.
CEQA, it includes adopting the resolution.
Okay. Does somebody?
Second.
Seconded by, okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner McCann, a second from Commissioner Crandall. I'm going to support the motion. I just want to say for the record that we do need to make 4 findings, that this is permitted within the zone. I can make that finding. The site is suitable. I can make that finding. The proposed use is not detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare, and it is not going to negatively impact surrounding land uses. So with that, I will support it. And if there's any other discussion, then I'll call all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. I'm now going to take us to item 8B, which is a public hearing for project 25066, 7-Eleven fill alcohol off-site sales. It's a CUP for 25137 to allow the sale of beer, wine, distilled spirits for consumption off premises, a type 21 license, and that we consider it to be categorically exempt from CEQA. And this is for the 7-Eleven located at 1118 South El Camino Real. I'm going to now open the public hearing. Do we have any disclosures anyone needs to make? No. Okay. David, we've received your staff report. Is that correct for this item? Okay. The applicant, did you wish to add anything? No. Okay. Is there any member of the public that wants to make a comment about the 7-Eleven at 1118 South El Camino Real? Seeing none and having no request to speak, I'm going to close the public hearing. Turn to my colleagues. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion on this one?
I'm happy to make a motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McCann.
So regarding public hearing project 25-066, requesting a CUP 25-137 and a CEQA finding of categorically exempt at 1118 South El Camino Real. I move the staff recommendations in the staff report, including the CEQA finding that it's exempt, and adopting the resolution approving the CUP 25-137. As part of my motion, I'd like to acknowledge that the project does meet the required findings as identified in the staff report. And also, as part of my motion, that we include the additional conditions as discussed
Yeah,
presented to us.
Excellent. I'll second that. That's a great motion. Thank you. I think it's very clear. So a motion from Commissioner McCann and seconded by me. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. You have your permit pending a 10-day appeal period. Okay? Thank you for being here tonight and providing retail services to the city of San Clemente. We appreciate it. Item 8C is our next item, and this is also a public hearing for a development permit. It's 24-500. It's at 323 Encino Lane. It's a private residence. And it's a request for a development permit for development of a two-story, 3,618 square foot, single-family residence and a roof deck of 713 square feet. That's presently a vacant lot within a residential medium zone and an architectural overlay. This is also something we are going to consider as a categorically exempt. The project is located at 323 Encino Lane. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Before I can acknowledge the staff, are there any ex parte communications or site visits or any disclosures from commissioners? Commissioner Prescott Loeffler?
Yes, I went out and visited the site and took a walkabout.
Okay, so Commissioner Loeffler was on site. Anybody else? Commissioner Crandall?
I guess if we want to go back far enough, visited the site when we reviewed it.
Yes,
Design review.
yes, you and I did, were you at the meeting, Steve? I don't know, yeah. So the three of us have seen this project before at the Design Review Subcommittee, so. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our professional staff, Alexia, to do the presentation tonight. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commission. Good evening. This is Encino Lane residents requesting for a development permit 24-500. The project location is 323 Encino Lane. That zoning is residential medium and within the architectural overlay. It is also within the Cat X zone for the coastal zone. It is within 300 feet of 3 historic properties as seen here in red, but our main point for this permit is the development permit because it's in the architectural overlay, not because it is within any range for these historic properties. Project description, it's a Spanish colonial revival single-family residence. The home is 3,265 square feet with a 713 square foot roof deck, and they are proposing a 353 square foot junior accessory dwelling unit. It is on a vacant lot, like you said, within the architectural overlay. The development is compatible within the neighborhood, and there are no identified negative impacts to the 3 historic residences that were shown on the previous screen. This is a material board that was provided by the applicant. As you can see here, we're looking at a stucco finish with Santa Barbara finished coconut. The roof is going to be a Tuscany 2-piece US tile. The trim will be black aluminum clad, and the wall caps will be terracotta pavers. A site plan showing the project. This project did meet the threshold to require a sidewalk, so that is noted and included here, and it is ADA compliant and required by condition 415 in the conditions of approval. As you said, this project was reviewed by Design Review Subcommittee. This was the original submittal that was preferred by the applicant at Design Review Subcommittee. After discussion, the committee decided that they did not approve of the black tile roof and suggested a variety of adjustments to the initial design to be more reflective of the Spanish colonial revival architecture, and they encouraged design changes which they have made prior to this hearing. A few of those comments were to remove the cornice roof detail and replace with traditional rafter tails, replace the tower hip roof with a gable roof design, adjust the proportions and design of the tower to appear more like a functional traditional entry tower element, increase the plate line of the first level of the building, widen the deck at the front, adjust the design of the chimney so it cantilevers less and transitions more simply into the building, use decorative tile on the stair risers and pilaster caps visible from the street, enlarge the size of exterior lights and apply stucco on the chimney cap. This here were the plans that I received on May 28th. As you can see, these changes were made per request by DRSC. They included the terracotta roof to replace the black tile roof. They added decorative tile to the front planters instead of the pilasters, increased the plate line height of the first level of the building, and they adjusted the tower and chimney elements as well. We did have additional project changes last week on June 10th. Those are noted here in red. They wanted to enlarge the window at the exterior stair to roof deck. In blue, they wanted to remove the decorative tile around the front door entrance. And 3, they adjusted the location of the decorative tile from the front planters to the gate columns. Staff does support changes 1 and 2, but does not support change 3, as it impacts the public visibility of the decorative tile from the street. And I do have a hidden slide that I can show you of a side-by-side comparison if requested for this. Further analysis, they do meet all of the development standards for the project. That includes lot coverage, height, setbacks, landscaping, and parking. And in conclusion, this project is consistent with the general plan policies as seen in attachment 5 of the staff report, the design guidelines as seen in attachment 6, and the zoning code. Our recommendation is to determine the project is categorically exempt from the requirements of CEQA and approve the project subject to the conditions of approval.
And I just have a couple more words with context about the review process and these design tweaks. Staff's looking for some discussion and guidance from the commission on a few of these really minor design details. We don't have a condition of approval in the staff report saying you absolutely have to go with the 510 plans. The staff recommendation and the condition of approval just says all exterior details and materials shall be approved by the planning division, which means the city planner and staff, prior to installation. So if you can give us guidance on whether you want them to stick absolutely to the 510 plan, or if you want to approve all these 3 modifications, or staff understands there may be a few other modifications requested by the applicant, just to get on the record what's being approved is all we're asking.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Alexia. Do you mind just going back to where you had yeah, right there. Just leave it there. Before we ask the applicant, I'm just going to ask my colleagues if we want to ask Alexia any questions. Commissioner Prescott-Leffler?
Could you point out the ADU? I don't see exactly what that would be.
Yes, it is on the second, or the first floor plan. I don't know if you have the plans in front of you.
She does.
Okay. It is the first
back.
floor at the rear of the building.
Is there a driveway to it? How do you enter that from? this
There is
way?
not. The access is to the left around the side of the building and then towards the back.
Is that where that gate, that one gate is circled by?
Back at the,
Okay.
yes.
And how many vehicles can park in the driveway? 2?
I believe 2, yes.
Thank you. Right there, got it.
And I guess while she's reviewing that, the parking regulation for the ADU is 0, correct?
Correct.
Karen, did you want to keep going?
I said thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry, missed that. Any other staff questions? Commissioner Camp?
So you mentioned this tower, or whatever you want to call it, in the front, that we had requested at Design Review Subcommittee that be a gable roof, but it appears to still be a hip roof on this revised rendering.
This
Am I
is,
missing something here?
this is the initial proposal that they had. The roof does change. I can direct that towards the architect if you would like to expand on that.
If you don't know, that's okay. When the applicant does there, we can
Yeah, we can
pick
ask.
up on that. Anything else?
That's all I
Steve?
have.
Okay. Scott, anything was for staff? No. Okay. All right. And you're good at this point for us to bring the applicant up?
Yes.
Do you mind introducing the applicant?
Yes, I have the architect David York here and the soon-to-be homeowners Harold and his wife Indira.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, you guys you have 10 minutes to make your presentation, and you can do it all together, one of you, whatever you guys want. It's up to you guys. But we would like to hear from you, if that's all right.
Yeah, I think they have some things they would like to ask from you. Regarding the front gable, it seems to me, working with this design, trying to create the separation in the front, the hip pattern seems to work better than trying to do a gable. Seems to be a little bit out of place when I raised up the tower in the front. So hopefully that answers your question on that. I think Alexa covered most of the items, so unless you have questions for me, I'll let the owners, did you want to make some comments or requests?
Hello.
Welcome.
Well,
Hello.
thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time
Of
to
course.
do your project. My name's Harold, my wife Indira, and the only comment that I wanted to make was as far as concerning the gable. One of the changes we did make to the plan, I think it really fits in with the design, is we radius the corners of the room there. And I think that kind of adds more of a, Spanish colonial style view to the building, and that works better, as David said, with the gate, with the hip roof instead of the gable roof.
Did you have any other things you wanted to talk about? How about, do you mind just, if I prompt you a little bit to maybe present to us your thoughts on the decorative tile? Do you mind sharing your thoughts on that, please?
Yes, so it's definitely not going to be the red, what you see in this picture here. It's actually in, I think Alexa had it right there, the small one next to the black, if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Or similar to it, so colorful, lots of red, yellow, blue, to support that Spanish city of San Clemente style, which I really love. I'm from Europe, so I love all these little details, and especially when it comes to Spanish architecture. And I don't have samples with me. I apologize for that as of right now. I also agree with you, Alexa, that we should put the tile in the front columns now that after I saw it. I would like to hear your opinion on that. And then my question was, would there be any chances if we can do the columns, which are on the other picture, which we said number 3 will not be approved, to maybe round them up and make round ones, so it will support the gate even better by walking in. So we have 2 to the left and 1 to the right, and as of right now they're square. If there's a possibility to make them round, I think it will look really great. And then I would also like to change the lighting on top of it with a round moon shape lighting, which you can see very often when you go to Europe in Mediterranean courtyards, and it will still support everything what the Spanish style here in San Clemente represents and has. It's not a modern light. I have the webpage here. Unfortunately, it was last minute sent to you, so it's not on here. So it was our fault, not yours. You've been really very patient with us. So that was one question of mine, if we can do that. And other than that, I'm open to suggestions.
Okay, does that conclude kind of what you wanted to share?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, do you mind if we just go through a little Q&A with you then? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm going to conclude that your comments are done. Before we move into the Q&A, there's no one in the audience, but just as a function, I just want to ask, is there any member of the public that wants to address the commission on this item? I have no request to speak, and I see no one in the audience except for the applicant, so we're going to come back to you now, okay? So there's no member of the public that wants to speak, so now we're going to discuss this with you, and I'm going to ask my colleague, Steve Camp, to kind of lead us through the discussion.
Okay, just to clarify, so the cladding on the columns is at the gate. I guess it's at both sides. You've got gates on both sides, and you're removing the cladding from the front planters? Is that what you're saying? I mean, that's what's shown here.
Yes, and after I saw it, after the architect put it on the plan, I actually agreed with Alexa that it will look better in the front if you do not like them where the gate is.
Yes, so
Okay,
basically.
so
Sorry
you're
if I'm
saying you would
confusing, yeah.
remove the cladding from the gate, and you also mentioned making those round?
Yes, I would have a vision of making them round and then have a round, like a moon shape light, LED light, very warm, very soft on top of it to, because when you stand at night out and you see the beautiful sky and the moon, and it will actually really reflect the Spanish style and give it like a romantic, I would say,
Okay,
feel
so
to
the
the
only
house.
lighting that you mentioned is what's on the top of these gate posts?
There will be 3.
Okay. And then, so we'll assume then that you're also asking for, I guess, a reversion to the previous design with the cladding on the planters.
Yes, and I'm basically okay with either or. I was gonna let you decide which design you think will look better and to complement the whole Spanish style. I'm okay
Okay.
with both.
Okay. Yeah, no, I want to thank you for revising the design for our suggestions from Design Review Subcommittee. I just want to make sure I understand the comments from staff as well. The one was the gable roof on that entry. That's actually a hip roof that you've changed it to, but you got rid of the cornice, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and instead of the clipped corners, which you had on the previous design, you're now proposing a pretty broad radius corner on all 4 sides of that feature?
Well, 3 sides, because the one's buried inside the house, but, right, it goes around. The idea is to kind of create kind of a little tower effect in front, so the radiuses will follow around to give it that height and.
Yeah, my contention is that though that might be an interesting detail, I don't think it's appropriate for Spanish colonial revival architecture. As a matter of fact, the clipped corners are more appropriate. If if you're saying this is not Spanish colonial revival, that's probably fine, but it's unusual to see that broad of a radius on a corner of the exterior. So I would suggest actually combining the two. Or not having a clipped corner on those. I don't know if you guys agree, but to me, I don't think that's a good solution.
Do you want to give your opinion on that?
I'm not quite sure. Sorry about that visualizing.
You're not tracking what he's
Yeah,
saying?
I'm not sure, so that's why I'm looking at him.
Are you referring back to the or the,
Yeah, see how you had the
right, this was the
clipped
original
corners?
subcommittee.
That to me is more, not the cornice, but the shape. That's keeping more with Spanish colonial revival than the new radius corners. I don't know, Bart, if you agree with that, but those broad radiuses you don't see in Spanish colonial revival architecture.
Alexia, they chose to go Spanish colonial revival, but it's not mandated, correct?
It's supposed to fit the nature of Spanish colonial revival.
They are in an overlay,
So
Yes.
So there is a little.
and that's why we're here, because of the overlay.
Correct.
And if I may say
So these
something.
details is the whole purpose of the discussion, because for the city to maintain its small village by the sea charm, we do have specific areas designated as architectural areas of interest, and you're in that.
Yes.
Therefore, your house is prominent, it plays a very important part of our heritage and our architectural heritage that we want you to be contributing to. So that's why we're having this conversation. You are in one of those zones. So, but we want to work with you collaboratively, it's your home, so we want to make sure you're happy too. But what the professional architects are saying is that the original design that you had, not the color, but the shape of the roof with the clipped edge on the corners is more compliant and aligned to the Spanish colonial revival architecture, which is the standard for the city. So what is your feeling about that?
Well, this is similar to the Farmers and Merchants Bank building. the corners, that they kind of have a round radius corner. That's kind of where we got the idea and the inspiration. We thought that
I
was
see.
very, very Spanish. That's where,
Also, that new dentist, the new dental building off of the freeway at El Camino Real, south end of town.
The
they have
Shoreline
same-
Dental Building?
Yeah, they have the same radius. Is that considered a Spanish revival zone there as well?
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, it's a similar detail to what those two buildings have done on El Camino Real.
And do you guys have, are you guys feeling a certain preference? Is it the one that you currently have now, where it's more of a radius versus clip? Is that,
I think she prefers the radius.
okay.
I'm actually, if I may say, I'm a little bit confused. So is this what we're talking about, David?
They're saying they like this detail where we went radius and then we had it squared down below, as opposed to making the radius
Okay,
all
we're
the way.
talking about this here.
Yes.
Okay, because I have here a plan when we talked last time, and I wrote it down because I'm not good with some of the names. So we said last time, if I'm correct, eliminate the whimsical detail and make it round. That's what I understood. And I wrote it down.
I
Well,
think we
no.
were talking about,
No, I think she's correct. There was some pushback with how we had the detail on the.
yeah, but that's because of the
45.
cornice. And it's, the radius is foreign to everything else. You don't have any more radiuses. And I understand you want to call attention to this entry feature. But, and you guys may not agree with me, but I don't think it's appropriate because it's such a distinct
Well,
feature.
That's not true.
It almost makes it stand out too much. Doesn't feel like a part of the rest of the house. And again, that may be an opinion. I also don't think that we see these kinds of broad radius corners in Spanish colonial revival. If there's precedence in the city, I apologize for that. And, I'm just one individual here on the planning commission, but I think you'd be better served for that, either just to be squared off corners, or if you want to feature it more prominently. The thing that we had a problem with on the previous tower, I believe, if you guys remember, was the cornice detail, which was unique, and the black tile. So you've taken care of that with the terracotta tile and the rafter, the exposed rafters. But going to the radius was not something we asked for, I'm pretty sure. Do you guys?
The minutes are in the staff report, so if you want to reference those, they're in the staff report.
Yeah, but I don't think they're
attachment
accurate,
4.
because for one thing, you called it out as a gable, a roof, and it's actually a hip roof.
Zach, did you have any thoughts you want to contribute to the comments that the architect made about the Shoreline Dental comparison?
I see generally where they're coming from with the look. I'm not prepared to say whether and the findings that were made in that case versus this case.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I would suggest, my suggestion is to go back to either the clip corners, which I like. Hopefully that's what we conveyed at design review, or just square corners for that element.
May I weigh in?
Yeah, let me give you the floor, Commissioner Proscott Loeffler.
Thank you. I just pulled up Shoreline Dental, and it does seem to have round. It looks lovely.
Can you want to just share that?
I would love to.
Okay. Oops, we lost it.
Oh, hang on.
Can you bring up on
Google.
Google Earth,
Yeah,
the street view of Shoreline Dental?
is that something Tamara can do?
Looks very similar.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and take your lead and take a look at that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
And I got a question on that same element. The doors on the first floor of that tower, are those the bypass doors that you show on your detail?
No, there'll be French doors.
Okay. Where, you've got a detail of a slider.
on, what is it, AD1. I'm gathering, that must be up on the, not on the roof, it must be at a deck.
Yeah, I think all the doors will be French. Mainly, this is to show the weep screed and the flashing detail for the deck. But
Okay. My concern is, I'm trying to find the detail that those doors are recessed the same amount as the windows above.
Well, that would be, detail 5 shows the recess, because if you look on the floor plan, you can see the thickness of the walls.
Steve, that's it.
I know the window is above, it's hard to tell if the,
We
detail 5 is up.
And excuse me, but I think that,
Okay.
Dave is saying, on the first floor, into the tower room, yeah, those are French doors. And up above, where, into the living room and that deck, those are like bifold doors that kind of opens up. They have the grids and so forth on them.
Okay, yeah, I
give
just
them
want
that
to make
look.
sure that that lower door has the same 6-inch recess that the windows above do. Because that is a standard Spanish colonial, though, actually.
Yeah, you could,
Deeper recesses usually what it normally is, but,
well, they'll match the door from detail 5, 81. And then, if you look at the plan, it shows a thickened wall. So, what did I call off on here?
I think it says 8-inch. I can't read it. Does it say 8-inch?
Says 8-inch.
Okay.
Yeah, I
the
call off
detail-
581, which is the 8-inch recess on the front.
okay.
On page 4.
AD4 or just 4? 4 here.
Well, it's detail 581 on sheet 4.
9 AD.
Back of the first page.
Yeah.
Detail 5.
What triggered the looking at that is that you probably have the same shadow line as the window above.
But it's, that detail's referenced.
Yeah.
Sometimes with
It's
the
right
CAD, it doesn't place the door exactly where you would like it sometimes.
Okay.
It tends to want to center it when we're actually going to be recessed back. Oh, these glasses. It's just blurry.
So you're thinking, we just,
I don't know how we missed it.
I like this.
I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but
Yeah.
I I think it's an easy.
you know, looking at the design on the radiuses there, my wife's commenting that she's finding, that was kind of a hexagon kind of shape there without the whimsical part. Would that be acceptable?
I like what you're saying,
Yeah, the
Mr.
clip-
Clam, but
the
I'm not
clip-
sure if I understand you. I have here some old plans, if I may give them to you. And if you just take a look, may I? Just a look?
Sure.
So if you can just show him, so for me to understand, because we talked about these things
think
here,
you
and
just-
then try to eliminate them, but if he likes this here.
I really like this, but I don't know, she's
Just tell them
happy.
that's what you want to do.
Yeah, but she changed her mind. Changed her mind a lot.
We appreciate you working with us to maintain our city charm, but we do, want to make sure you love your home.
So making it flat on the side.
So
Just
clip,
for
in
understanding.
other words, clip the corner.
Is that what you mean? or-
That's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you can basically leave this detail the way it's shown here, since it's still a hip roof, but you have the rafter tails exposed. And you have the red, or the terracotta clay tile. I I mean, I like that clip corner. It's not up to me, but
As I remember last time, we didn't like the clip corners. That's why.
you do.
We do.
Well, you're much
Okay.
younger than I am, so you probably have better memory.
I wrote it all down, so maybe I heard you wrong, but I thought that you said you don't like the whimsicals, and that's why I even looked it up, what's that mean? And then I wrote it down, and so,
That must have been him. Let's see.
That's it, like, okay.
and then I said, I'm okay without them, so then they changed it, but I'm also okay with just what I tried to explain, without the whimsical and having that kind of like detail.
Yeah.
Like that.
Okay, sounds like we're all in agreement then. What we're going to do is just give verbal guidance to the staff, so they have a general sense of direction. We're not going to require it in as a condition of approval, and then you can work through the details with the staff, okay? It's a way you have flexibility, but you're getting some guidance. And again, it is just to maintain our small village by the sea, Spanish colonial revival architecture, so that you're adding to our charm in the town. And we really appreciate you working with us to do that.
Thank you, yes.
Okay, so I think we've addressed the roof line, and Commissioner Crandall, did you have some additional thoughts you want to drill
I
down
had a
to?
question for you, seeing as I'm retired. When do we have to have handrails and guardrails for a platform and/or 4 risers? Do we have to have a handrail for 4?
18
Risers.
inches above grade, I think.
18 inches above grade.
My question is, are we going to need railings around the office front porch?
The plan was not to, so, I mean, before we're finished, I'll have to
You
keep those
know
under
what the
18.
code requirement is for that?
I'm sorry?
You know what the code requirement is for when you need a railing?
Yeah, if I'm over 18 inches, I'll have to have a railing.
Which looks like you're going to need it.
We're pretty close. I'm trying to
It
keep
says
it.
32, it says 30 inches, I think, on the
Well,
cross section,
right, the planters are higher than the wall in between them.
which is a tripping hazard.
Are there 3 risers or
4.
there's 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be 24 inches.
Yeah,
do
or
the handrail,
29,
guardrail around.
whatever.
Yeah,
it's
well-
8.
Here?
So we want to make sure that those are appropriate-looking railings, made out of wrought iron to match the, what's up on the balconies and whatnot.
Any comment on the moon shade light fixture?
Yes, staff's looking for direction, yes.
I don't know, I'm not quite sure what a moon shape.
Yeah,
It's basically a globe, right?
Yeah, so I have a question talking about the railing there. You know,
Yeah.
If we put, so I've seen this other parts of town too, where, what if there's
Well,
little,
it doesn't matter what's in the other parts of town, it's
right,
what the
architectural.
code says for safety.
Right. So could we use a hedge? No, it can't, it has to be a railing.
yeah,
It's a handrail.
Okay,
Gotta be a railing.
yeah, it's a safety,
safety, okay.
yeah. That's why we need, that's why, it's required by the building code. You want to pass the building inspection. So that would be, our advice is to incorporate that into your design.
Okay.
And then, can you describe the lighting that you were discussing? Are you talking about downwardly directed lighting, or are you can you just describe the lighting? That's
Yes,
a question we have.
1 second.
If you have a photo, that would be great to see.
Show me the front photo. You want me to do it mine?
Yeah, do you have?
Night skies, intention of going to it, that's.
So they're circular glowing fixtures. They aren't, here, he has a picture.
Yeah, okay,
So basically in a moon shape, you see that a lot of Mediterranean courtyards, they're solar
yeah. It's a solar light?
or hardwired.
I
both.
see. And you want to put that where, on your front?
I would love, if that is okay with you gentlemen, to put that on the gate to the left and on the one to the right column.
So on the pilasters, so it'd be 4 lights all in total?
3,
3, gotcha, I see, okay. 2 on the left and 1 on the right.
yes.
I want to, okay, we need to discuss that. Normally, lighting fixtures that are facing the front do need to have direction and shielding so that they're not, creating basically glare and also illuminating beyond your property line. I know that sounds a little bit strange, but as people are driving down the street or walking down, you don't want to overwhelm them with this source of light that's undirected and just going everywhere in a prominent location like that. And we do have in our zoning code restrictions on the front lighting that makes it directed and shielded to kind of keep it within the line of sight of your property and not overwhelming people that go by. I understand the mood that you're trying to create, which you could do with other things, but on a prominent lighting fixture such as that, I would not, Zach, I don't think that's compliant with our lighting zoning, is it?
The zoning code is specific that it needs to be shielded on top. There's a little bit of
Leeway on the
in terms
sides?
of how we interpret the sides.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be totally covered. If you want to have a sort of an orb style light, you could do that with a cap, and then the orb would still be directed
Downward.
So they're very, I looked them up, they're very low density, downward facing. And what else did I wrote down? I apologize. So
It's a contemporary fixture.
it is
Yeah.
very,
It's not
it's just an ambient glow. It's very warm. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, so you're going to have to work that out with the staff. There is zoning requirements that you have it shielded on the top. I would also just have you think about the consistency with your design language when you want to go Spanish colonial revival, and then as you start mixing in contemporary features and elements, you begin to create contradictions in your design language, and you should discuss options with your architect about that.
Okay.
And you can implement those in other locations, in your garden and other places that provide that ambient temperature and glow that you're looking for. So that staff, Zach, do you understand? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in on that. I think this is an opportunity to have a character-defining feature, which would be Spanish colonial revival, and because you've got the wall mount fixtures going across the front of the house, and then all of a sudden have a unique, more contemporary moon glow, I think distracts from the building. I understand the character, and in the right places, it's pretty cool. But I just don't feel it's the right place for that kind of fixture.
I would eliminate the wall sconces. They're not on this
I think
view.
we eliminated
We
those.
did. We eliminated them.
And in lieu of eliminating the wall fixtures, we.
That's what made it look so I mean,
Yeah.
I liked it with the ones on the wall.
But that doesn't change.
I wouldn't deny the project because of that, but I think we're going with a general Spanish colonial revival and then bastardizing it with some of these details.
It's introducing some conflict in the design. Again, this is why we like to do design review in the conference room and not on from the dais. It just gets, a lot of cooks in the kitchen. But we're just trying to keep you consistent with the vision of the city and a design that contributes to the overall charm and character to the city. That's the advice we're giving staff to work with you. So that's the bottom line. I'd like, unless there's anything else, I just want to, maybe one last topic. Zach, did we talk about the tile? I think that was the one area you were asking for guidance on. I want to make sure you got it. I'm not sure if I remember that conversation.
I think that the applicant has since revised their proposal to go back to the tile where it's most visible from the public street, which is right adjacent to the 2 columns on the stairway.
Okay.
And removed the tile from that back
So
gate.
going with more or less the DRSC recommendations.
Yes, that's how I understood.
Okay, very good. Zach, or Alexia, is there any other areas that you would like to get some guidance on tonight?
Maybe just clarify the roof one more time so we're clear in the tower element.
Okay. I believe the applicant and Mr. Camp did have a meeting of the minds on moving to the clipped edges.
The original.
The original,
proposal.
yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? Any other feedback we want to give staff or ask of the applicant? Any final thoughts that you want to provide? Are you satisfied with tonight's
Yes.
discussion?
Yes.
Feel comfortable?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for your investing your time and capital in San Clemente and working with us to
Thank you
keep
as
our
well. Yeah.
small town charm. We appreciate it.
Are we coming back for a design review, or is
No.
staff going to look at?
This is it. You're done.
Okay.
Yep, the staff has asked a few areas for clarification, we've done that. And unless you had any areas, sir, that you wanted to revisit or get questions answered, we're going to conclude your item.
Can I just ask one more point of clarification? If the architect and applicant decide to make minor changes to that front overhang next to the stairs in order to meet building code safety requirements, are we able to be flexible in, 6 inches here or there to, or if building is willing to sign off on something that doesn't have full guardrails all the way around? We understand if guardrails are required, they need to be SCR traditional style.
Yeah.
Yes. It needs to comply with code. That's the bottom line. That's your comment, right?
Well, my comment is that it be appropriate handrail, yeah.
Yeah.
And staff can determine that, and I think they next have to go through coastal, correct?
This is in the categorical exclusion area of the coastal zone,
It is,
so
okay.
they don't need to go to coastal. We are going to request a bit of guidance from coastal on the junior accessory dwelling unit, whether they would like to review that aspect of the project.
Very good.
Chair?
Yes, Scott.
So are we, they're asking for a development permit, right? So are we
Yes, they are.
now going to be looking for a motion that kind of incorporates the various conclusions that the commission has come up with tonight? Okay.
Zach, you're comfortable with you've heard tonight? You don't have any further questions?
Yeah, I think we've gotten the guidance we were looking for, and the code allows the city planner to make minor modifications that don't raise a public concern. We were just looking for guidance to make sure that the final set of plans we reviewed sort of mixed and matched the elements as they've been discussed.
So are you considering a motion, Commissioner McCann? Because then we just need to incorporate general discussion for.
Are we going to have a discussion amongst us?
Yeah.
Okay, you were kind of saying like, oh, well, you're done. Like, I didn't know if this was.
I meant as far as.
I know, but.
Their comment.
Yeah, but I didn't know if this was just like, for example, the next item is interpretation of like, hey, let's give you some feedback.
Yeah.
Or no, we're taking action.
Yeah, no, we're
So
gonna
I
take
just wanted
action.
to, okay, I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for being here. We're going to have our deliberations and then we'll take our action. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Okay. Discussion.
Yeah, the one other thing that we didn't comment on was that decorative tile, right? That we're okay with
With what?
that, right? That's the one that's on the
The blue.
stair risers, I think.
It was the blue and the yellow and
It's on their
it looks,
materials.
Oh.
Board. There it is. So that decorative tile, we're good with that. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
Okay.
I think we were just making sure we're discussing the location for it. And I think we did discuss that.
And what did we decide? It's going on the,
Well, they had revised the request to push it back, and then staff was opposed to their revision number 3, but then the applicant had decided, okay, yeah, we do want it more prominent, which is where staff wanted it as well.
Yeah. So it's kind of.
They're in an agreement.
Yeah.
so everybody here is clear on where that tile's going?
I think it's going on this front wall.
The front, so that the public can see it,
Yeah.
which
Is
lends to
everybody-
Is
the,
it going on the stair risers as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you'll even see.
Okay.
But I'm not, to me, it's a bit much for that whole, so is it just the planters? Is it the whole wall?
It's just the planters and the stair risers, and then the tops of the pilasters by the gate is where the tile will be.
Like in a trim at the top of the pilaster, where the gates are in the back. Yeah, right there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the gate is a black color. And then those two pilasters are red tile with a decorative tile at the top? Is that what?
So it's, the tile depicted in the red is all going to be this decorative color. It's not going to be just the red and brown terracotta.
It's not an accent at that point.
Mm.
It's especially if it's gonna cover all the.
It's fully covering in that tile.
planters. That's a very busy
Yeah.
tile to be the only tile. That to me is should be more of an accent. So even if it's embedded in the plaster, the smooth plaster, along the top, I just think that's a very busy decorative tile to clad that entire thing.
You mean the gate pilasters, so,
Well, the pilasters and the planters and that wall,
yeah.
it's all that.
So Lexi, is the tile gonna go in the planter inset?
I'm sorry.
Is the tile in the planter inset?
That wall along the front, the low wall.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that's just the planters. It's not along the wall.
Oh, the pilasters of the planters.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha.
So the edge, the two pieces at the edge,
Mm-hmm.
those will be completely covered. on
The
accent,
entirety of the planters will be covered with tile, is my understanding, yes.
Plus the pilasters on either side of the gate.
No.
No.
So their original proposal on 528, which is what we all, I think, decided to go back to, was just the planters and then the caps on top of what's by the gate, not the entire pilasters by the gate.
So the caps are flat.
Yes, and those will have tile on them.
You don't really see them from the street.
Correct.
They're on the top.
Correct.
So what you would see from the street then is just the planters on the.
The
I think
planters.
what's confusing is that this plan in front of us on our desk is not matching
It's not matching.
this rendering that's on the screen. So.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I'm saying, Zach? That we have two different renderings with two different designs, and I think that's adding to our confusion.
Well, plus, this doesn't show that decorative tile.
And none of
this is a
and none of
single-
the renderings show the decorative tile, actually. None of them do.
Well, let's go through this thing real quick.
Okay, let's have Commissioner Crandall
Let me
lead
ask
us
a
through
question.
this.
Sheet A2. Is that how you're proposing your tile?
There's a sheet A2, and then there's a attachment 8.
There's different dates.
Attachment 8 was the.
I see two, yes. Which is it?
We're going back to the A2 without the attachment 8.
So I can
There you go.
take 8 out of my
We hit it,
packet.
just in
Okay.
case.
Okay, got it.
So what's on your screens now is a side-by-side comparison of the front elevation. The one on the left is 528, and the one on the right is 610. Those are the two different changes with the tile that we're discussing.
No, okay.
Which one is being proposed?
Applicants went back to the one on the left.
On the left, okay.
Correct.
Gotcha,
528.
Yes.
okay. And then the decorative tile would go where?
On the planters, on the caps by the stairs, and on the caps, on the columns by the gate.
Gotcha, so where we see kind of the red.
Red, mhm.
That's the decorative?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone clear now? Okay,
I'm clear and I'm actually okay with it.
okay.
I think it looks clean.
Steve?
No, I'm not okay.
Okay.
I'm just one guy. On the tile work, I think it's too much to cover those entire planters in the front. Well,
It would be
They
no
don't
different.
show us landscaping. I'm not sure you're going to see. What kind of landscaping are you expecting in front of
In
those
plants.
planters and the low wall holding up the or end of the patio?
So I would like to,
Are we talking bushes, or are you just going to do something flat like shown to us?
rosemary, olive trees to the left and right, so a Mediterranean landscaping. So I'm talking about purple, lavender, sage. It attracts a lot of pollinators. It's visually very appealing.
I'm thinking more, so you're talking about clumping or something with some height to it?
Yeah, it'll be at least 2 feet high probably before it's done, if it's lavender.
And that will solve some of the problem.
If it's rosemary, it'll spill over, which is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me, it would be no different than having a decorative fountain or something like that that has a lot of tile in it. This is more organized, I think. And then you have the planter full, and I think it would be softened. And I like the capping on top.
What else? What other discussion do we have on this now? Anything more? Scott, anything more?
I have one, not on the planter, though. I've got another question.
Sure, I think you're the, you can.
What kind of electrical and lighting are you planning up on the roof deck?
Good question.
The lighting, I mean, it'll probably just be in wall, because I think the way. it's
Well,
proposed
we
is-
don't want to, it might be. I want to know what it is.
It'll be in wall. It'll be kind of just low, maybe a foot off the ground, just low to illuminate.
So it'll just be a wash onto the deck surface.
Yeah, recessed inside the wall.
That's something we need to confirm to make sure it is down facing and is only illuminating for safety.
Yeah, same thing on the stairs going up to the deck.
Yeah, it'll be similar to like step lights. It'll be.
With the vents that,
Around the perimeter of the deck.
okay.
And I think the other one was, I don't think the moon glow lamps are a go.
Yeah, we've,
I don't think they're,
I- we've-
I think they're cool. I don't think they're
I think
appropriate
we've
here.
conveyed that, right, Zach? You already picked up on that, right? Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or direction to staff? Zach, do you feel satisfied that you've heard answers to your questions or concerns?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other discussion from any of the members tonight?
Chair, I'm,
McCann?
yeah, I'm supportive of this project. I think it, it's a challenging lot. And I think the architect did a really great job in bringing something beautiful to a challenging lot. And so I know we've discussed a lot of little tweaks here, which I'm supportive of the discussion. I'm not supportive of the moon light fixture, but generally supportive of all of the kind of conclusions that the commission's come to. And I'm supportive of the project. And I can make the findings that are in the staff report.
Excellent. Commissioner Camp, your feelings at this point?
I agree with what he said.
Okay. Commissioner Crandall, your thoughts?
Yes, I can support the project. I'm a little concerned that what we have in front of us is a little short on what's actually going to be there. And I feel that this is a little incomplete. But we're here, we want to move it along for you, so.
And I think, that's why I keep deferring to Zach for, are you comfortable with what you've heard tonight? So that the staff will take the sentiment, the direction, and then fill in the blanks with the applicant.
Yes,
That-
I hate to make that a common practice, but yes, we are.
Can you, yeah, that's really what staff's asking for tonight.
Yeah, and just to clarify, in addition to the condition I keep referencing, 5.10, there's conditions 5.11 and 5.12, which talk specifically about Spanish colonial revival design elements and fixtures being required. A lot of them are referenced, the tile and the mortar packing, but and steel and all of that gets reviewed by the professional planning staff, which includes Jonathan and David and Christopher and up to the development director. So we'll review these minutes, we'll review the DRSC minutes, and we'll make sure that the materials shown on the final plans are traditional Spanish colonial revival.
And I think we have alignment with the applicant on our comments as well. So with that, Commissioner Prescott-Loeffler, did you have any thought? Where are you on this item?
I'm in support of the project. I agree with Bart, it's a little bit messy when there's some last-minute changes. But it's certainly going to be a nice addition to the neighborhood, and I would like it moved along with the direction given to staff so that they can continue down the path to get this where it needs to go. I am not in favor of the moon globes. Love them in the backyard, but I don't think it would fit with what you have. Other than that, the tile looks nice, and I think it's going to look very clean.
Okay, okay. Yeah, as for me, I just concur with my colleagues, and my thought in general is that this is why we do not design from the dais. We do all of that in design review, where we can iterate out with plans and so maybe the takeaway tonight is we just need to be very crisp in design review on exactly how we're concluding that meeting, and so that when we leave there, we're all kind of make sure we're all on the same page. That would be my number one insight from this, so we can not make this the norm. And with that, I'm open to any motions anyone wants to make. Commissioner McCann.
I'd be happy to make a motion, but I'm wondering if maybe you would be, if you've been like following each of the points, do we need to reiterate each of the points?
I would
Or just
no.
kind of say per the discussion?
Yes, that would be adequate.
Okay. In that case, I can make a motion.
Great.
So regarding development permit DP 24-500 for 323 Encino Lane residents, as part of my motion, I can make the findings that are in the staff report. And I move that we approve the recommendations that are in staff report, specifically regarding finding the project categorically exempt per SEQA and adopting resolution PC 25-004 and public hearing project 24-494 and development permit 24-500, including and incorporating all of the discussion points and direction that we had during this meeting.
I can second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner McCann, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Prescott-Loeffler. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Congratulations again. Thank you for working with us to keep San Clemente beautiful. We appreciate it. And you just, we'll follow up with Alexia on next steps. And Zach, yeah, they will guide you on what you need to do next to keep your project moving. Great. Nice to visit with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For your next future, whatever comes.
Playing with the grandkids.
Luckily, he's only a phone call away.
And I mean, it was pretty cool to hear that, and your leadership and your vision and everything, so that's,
Thank you.
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Good night. We're going to, everyone good to keep moving? No break? Okay. New business is item 9. It is an interpretation requested by our professional staff. It's 25-212, tattoo parlors in the West Pico corridor area or specific plan. And this is a request to us from the staff to give them some interpretation as to whether tattoo parlors can be considered as part of a personal service use in the West Pico corridor specific plan. It's not currently in that table of permitted uses.
Correct.
But there are many other personal services that are, but this is not one of them, so the staff is saying, what about this? And then, so that's the item, and Alexia, you are here to present this one as well.
Yes.
All right, thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. As you said, tattoo parlors in West Pico corridor, we're asking for your input, your advice on this. We did have some existing tattoo businesses as of recently, since the ordinance or the specific plan was adopted in 2022, requesting for tattoo services to be in this zone. Hence our discussion and our initiation of this interpretation. The project location is the West Pico specific corridor. We're looking at 3 areas of interest: the light industrial zone, neighborhood commercial 1.2 and 2 zones, and the community commercial 2 zone. The light industrial is that medium purple shade. The neighborhood commercial 1.2 and 2 is the light red and medium red. And then community commercial 2 will be in the dark red. Those are the main areas of interest for us today. We're looking at the West Pico Corridor Specific Plan, which is commonly referred to as Los Molinos or the Surf Ghetto, as defined in Chapter 6 of the West Pico Corridor Specific Plan. It includes development review procedures, hence bringing this item as an interpretation. We are looking at the appropriate use classification of tattoo businesses, which are not currently listed in the use tables of the light industrial zone. Staff believes that tattoo parlors are substantially similar to personal services, particularly in the context of West Pico Corridor specific area, as it's defined in the general plan as eclectic and a creative business incubator. Just some definitions for you here. Personal services as defined by the specific plan: provision of recurrently needed services of a personal nature. This classification includes barber and beauty shops, seamstresses, tailors, shoe repair shops, dry cleaning businesses, excluding large-scale plants, photocopying, and self-service laundries. A zoning map is provided in attachment 2 for you guys to reference. As stated, they do not identify tattoo parlors as a permitted or conditionally permitted use in the zone. We're looking for an interpretation to make tattoo parlors, which are defined by SCMC, a business establishment where a person can obtain a tattoo and/or body piercing, and excludes businesses where a person can only obtain a body piercing and not a tattoo. Tattoo parlor does not include beauty salons or cosmetology businesses involving ear piercings or permanent eye and lip lining, as similar to the previously defined personal services. Our area of discussion is to define these as similar in nature per the findings of the function of use. To start, the tattoo parlors consist of one-on-one appointments similar to personal service businesses, and they provide in San Clemente Municipal Code Section 17.28.325 for body art establishments, provide minimum standards to establish tattoo parlors in all zones of the city, in which issues associated would be minimized in order to comply with zoning standards, the general plan, and be compatible with surrounding uses. For this first finding, staff believe that Planning Commission can make this finding. Finding 2, impacts of the use. The zoning code does not implement additional standards for body art establishments, which regulate the location, does implement these, which regulate the location, hours, and other operating standards for tattoo parlors. Staff believes, however, that the location criteria are not needed within this plan, but supports maintaining other standards in this section as objective requirements for issuance of a business license. We do provide an alternative 2 that allows you to have the option to include the locational criteria and also change the zones for which these would be permitted in. That's it. Finally, our recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopts Resolution PC 25-007, approving the proposed interpretation that future tattoo parlors would be permitted by right to operate in the Neighborhood Commercial 1.2 and 2, Community Commercial 2, and Light Industrial zones of the West Pico Corridor Specific Plan, and that the standards other than locational criteria contained within SCMC 17.28.325 body art establishments shall apply.
Concludes your prepared
Yes.
report? Okay. Are there questions on the staff report from anybody? Karen, do you want to lead, do you have any questions? No. Okay, Bart?
Just now, we're excluding businesses where a person can only obtain a body piercing and not a tattoo? Why?
That's just the definition provided by the municipal code. That's what we have listed currently as a definition for any and all tattoo parlors.
Interesting.
We
Okay.
do have, sorry, just to clarify a little bit more, we do have in the body art establishments section of the code more definitions that do pertain to body piercing and not a tattoo.
Is an earring a body piercing? I assume so.
Yes.
Pretty inane. Okay, okay.
Just to be clear, this interpretation would allow a tattoo parlor that also provided earrings or body piercings. It may or may not allow a business that's standalone earrings. That might require another interpretation. You could give us some guidance on that. There's two kinds of
That's
it.
what I was wondering, that, do they have to be together, or can they be separate? And I'm kind of saying that the times they are a-changing, you know, the looking down on tattoo parlors, they've got a whole new clientele now, same with body piercings. It's more acceptable and it's more
Mainstream.
mainstream, and
Yeah, I've been wondering where to go.
yeah.
Tattoos.
So,
After tonight, you'll know.
so your recommendation is
Allow it.
Yes.
defining it as a personal service?
Correct.
Yeah, allow it.
Basically.
Put it in the table of allowed uses.
Yes.
Okay, once we do that, what is involved if someone in the future wants to change it? What would be the procedure? Just what we're doing here? To change a definition?
To propose a new use, like body
No,
piercings, or to?
To amend the definition.
We're not changing the definition of tattoo parlors. The city planner interpretation here is that a tattoo parlor fits into the category of personal services. If we wanted to later find that it didn't fit into personal services, the planning commission would probably have to
I
bring
guess my
up a new
question,
business
Are
item.
we going to go into the definitions of a tattoo parlor and say that?
I don't think the proposal is to change the definition of tattoo parlor. It's merely to interpret tattoo parlors as defined by the code as qualifying for personal service uses, which are allowed in the West Pico corridor specific plan area.
What else would it be besides
Okay.
personal service?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just going through we're going through the process, so yeah. But right now, we're just making sure if we have any questions of staff. Steve, did you have any questions? No. Okay. Did you have any questions? All right. Thank you. Let's have our discussion then. And we're all clear on what the task is before us. What discussion? Thoughts, Karen, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was already included. so-
Okay, so you're good.
Yeah.
All right. Bart?
I'm not opposed to it. I think times have changed, and I think the public looks on tattoos a whole different way than they used to, and I think it is a personal service, and it would be appropriate to consider that.
Great. Steve, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a personal.
Okay, so you're the same as Karen, okay,
I
and
think
Scott?
you added in there without any problem.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I think we're all aligned on this, so I don't think there's any need to have any further discussion. So you're looking for a motion to adopt your resolution, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You want to make that?
Yeah, I'll make it. I will go ahead and move staff recommendations to adopt Resolution PC 25-007. That's approving the proposed interpretation that future tattoo parlors would be determined by right to operate in the neighborhood commercial 1.2 and 2, community commercial 2, and light industrial zones of the West Pico Corridor Specific Plan, and that the standards and other locational criteria contained in our San Clemente Municipal Code 17.28.325 body art establishments apply.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Camp. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. Thanks for walking us through that, Alexa.
Yeah.
Very much appreciate that.
Alexia, how do you pronounce your last name?
Technically, it's Grushinsky, but Gruzinski is a little easier to say.
Okay. we
It's
like
the
to
Americanized version.
I like them both.
It's Grushinsky?
Grushinsky.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, you did well tonight, so
Thank you.
we hope to see you again soon.
Me too.
Okay, great. That concludes our item number 9, new business, and we have no old business. That takes us to item 11, and that is reports of commissioners and staff. Did anybody have any reports? Commissioner McCann?
I don't have a report.
We're going to go with mine. We're going to go with mine before the staff one. Yeah.
Do we have more items to discuss?
We're all under item 11, and I have a report I'm going to make, and I brought a PowerPoint to do it.
Okay. Well,
We're just going to hear the commissioner reports, and then we're going to turn it over to Zach to do his. And he's got a PowerPoint too.
when is now the appropriate time for me to talk about BART?
No, after this.
Okay, just don't pass
I'll
me
let you
up.
know. Okay. Did you have a report you want to make, Bart?
Yeah.
Great.
In just observation and discussions over the years, at one time, we had the policy where once a month, a individual on the planning commission would report to the city council, go to their meeting and say, this is what we did last week or this month. And they wouldn't have to respond or react, but it gave a chance for commissioners to interact with the city council and be noticed as being, I don't know how many people here have met or talked to every single city councilman, but probably not many. And you might consider that we might consider that policy in the future. It's just a procedure.
Okay.
Doesn't require any action. It's just, they go and they'll even submit just a speaker card at the beginning and make a statement,
Okay.
limited to 3 minutes.
Right.
But I think that was a good policy and allowed them to say what they choose. So that's the end of my comment.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about it?
Yeah.
So it was just informal, or did we sort of appoint?
Everybody got a month. Like in April, you do it, May, Scott does it. And whatever went on that month, or whatever's on your mind. Because it's public comment, and it worked out pretty well. And it fell apart during COVID and, stopped being done. And it's something to consider. And some people didn't want to do it, which is fine too. It's not a mandatory function, but
So, just so everyone,
Your mic. Thanks.
so was there like a consensus? Or did you just go and say what, your interpretation?
because it didn't have to be noticed as being anything. It was just a public comment at the very beginning of the meetings. And it was,
So it's to build rapport with
exactly,
the city
that's,
council. Do we know if they listen to these?
I have no idea. I don't know when they listen to us.
Yeah. I'd be curious. I mean, I met all of them yesterday.
Well, that's certainly something we can think about. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. Did you have anything else that you want to share? Karen, did you have anything you want to share?
I think this is done in other cities, and sometimes it's twice a year, but I like the once a month. So it is just a brief report from their perspective of what was covered and what was going on in the city per that one member of the planning commission. And it was not business, it was just a report. And thank you very much for your time, and
That's it. Okay, well, we can all think about it. That's something we were comfortable. We can continue to just get there.
Yeah, and basically, you could do that now individually.
Sure, yeah.
But this was just a way to kind of formalize and say,
Yeah. I think from my perspective, I've been I think a lot, long and hard when I'm going to the city council, am I representing myself or am I representing our group? And I would say 99 times out of 100, unless we all direct me to go and represent us, I'm representing myself. So we would just have to have those kind of work through some of that. But I hear what you're saying, and I think we should be open to it and think about it. Okay. I wanted to share some slides because I had the opportunity to go through the Miramar. And I was going through it with the on-site foreman who's leading the construction. And I had the opportunity to do that. And I just wanted to share what I saw and heard with you guys, because I know it's a project of interest. So I'm like, I'm going to pull my phone out and take some photos. But I wanted to just introduce this oh, can I advance it? Yeah. Oh, okay, great, fancy. So for those that do or do not know, the Miramar opened 87 years ago in 1938 as a movie theater. And at that time, in 1938 dollars, it was $75,000 to build that. Today, roughly, that'd be almost $2 million. It underwent a major renovation in 1969, but then closed in 1992 and has been vacant for 33 years. And one of the things that the foreman impressed upon me was the challenges associated with reviving a building that's been vacant for 3 decades. Incredibly difficult. I wanted to share this perspective with you all because part of what we have had is conversations around what is taking so long? What is going on with this property? Why? And there have been stops and starts, but when I listened to the foreman, he was making the case to me that this building is a mess. And everything they touched disintegrated, crumbled, had mold, and had to be, excavated, and all sorts of things. And so the amount of time and capital that they put in to get it to where it is now, I think, has been remarkable. And I wanted to actually give this in a positive way. Because I know people have been waiting on this since 2017, when a revitalization plan was made to create an event center, which is where the theater is, and then a food court, which is where the bowling alley is. And essentially, it really did not get restarted in earnest until August of 2023. So what I want to do is go through, this is the front. You can see where the fencing in here is where the entrance would be. So this is going to be like an entrance courtyard. The operator of the event center will have tenant improvements that when the construction is done, then they will come in and do their tenant improvements for the uses that they anticipate. This is the east side. You're going to see they've got fountains and planters there. One of the reasons why I was asked to go there is because the fence that you see there, they were not anticipating a fence. And now the building operator, the tenant that's coming in is saying, I want a fence, because I want to make sure that when we do setups and things like that, people just can't just walk on to the property. Or we don't have unauthorized overnight guests on the property. And I talked to Jonathan about this. It's a change to their design that was approved. And this is why I went there, and I've talked to Jonathan about, they're asking that the city look at expediting their request to add the fence quickly, because they're about to pour the patio concrete and they'd like to get the fence footings put in. So I've left that with Jonathan to talk to the applicant and figure out what he wants to do. But that's part of their courtyard. This is the inside of the theater. So you can see this is all it has been basically kept in the same shell and the same form factor, but everything, all the drywall and everything behind it's been redone. This is the bowling alley, and you can see, the interior here has been retained. And one of the things that you can see here are these
Trusses.
the trusses.
Bow truss.
Yep. And then you see the ventilation and they tried to keep that from crisscrossing to maintain, and that's why you've got vents on both sides of the roof, to not crisscross and just vent, let's say, all on the west side and leave the east side. So that's why, to preserve that. And then you can see where the different vendor stations are there. And it's coming along, and I think the skylight is helping with natural light. It's just another photo of that. This is one of the things that I was really impressed with. They had to excavate a basement under the food court to make it to support the food court. So the bottom left is refrigeration units. So each vendor stall will have their own refrigeration dedicated unit. And you can tell the amount of work that had to be done to plumb it, power it, support it. I mean, this is massive amount of work. None of this existed. This was all had to be excavated and added. And you can see, I took a picture of the ceiling so that you could see all the various pipes and conduits and all the supporting work that had to go in to build out this basement to support the food court operation. And you know, the power, you think about 1938, they did not have anything to code for power that we have today, right? So the amount of work to retrofit this older building with all the new to code for power, for ventilation, for AC, for the plumbing, I mean, this is a massive amount of work that they put into it. This is a picture of some of the grease traps that they've built a special grease trap for all of the vendor stations, and then all of the connections to the city sewer here. This is the patio area that's on the west side of the building that will have trellises, will have, you know, landscaping and tables, so when people go and get their food from the food court, if they don't, you know, take it to the North Beach area, then this will be a seating area for patrons to go. And then I just want to take a picture of the venting. These are quite sizable units. They were a little bit bigger than I thought, because this came for design review, the vents, and I thought this is a little bigger than I thought we were shown, but that's what they had to do by code, and they will be painted. I don't know what other things they're going to do to shield them, but that's what it looks like right now. Anyway, that's all I had. Here's my clicker back. Anyway, and I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Yeah, they are bigger.
Yeah.
And they're quite a bit
Yeah.
bigger, yeah.
I think the original approved ones were actually inside, and they only vented to the outside. They had to maintain the grease and all cleaning and traps from the inside, and somehow that got,
Well, what we were told
Yeah.
is that those are required because of the multiple tenants.
Yes,
Not
each
because-
one
Well,
had to
no.
have its own vent.
they were able to, they wanted to use one main duct and whatnot, because you had to have makeup air and exhaust. And in the original plan, they were hidden. And it got changed.
Well, I know we approved it, but they're bigger than what we were shown. And,
I thought there's a little elbow vents, but
I mean, the teller is that, you know, when we drive by there, my wife, who usually doesn't notice much of
They
anything,
stand out like a sore thumb right now.
she said, what are those? And it's very noticeable. And it's, you know, it's unfortunate. I told her, I said, you have multiple tenants, they each need their own vent. She goes, well, I don't care, it's ugly. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but
yeah.
And you said, if I was the architect, this never would have happened.
no, I never make that kind of a statement.
Cameron, thank you for that, because I only see from the outside shell. I can't see on the inside.
Yeah, I didn't know about that subterranean, that's pretty.
Yeah.
It's and the other thing that I asked him was, well, when do you think you're going to be done? And he said, well, my part of restoring it to a functional building, not including tenant improvements, like October, November. Then we turn it over to tenants, and they do their tenant improvements. So I hope by, first quarter of next year, there'll be an open, you know, the TIs will be done and they'll be ready to open. But they're they're doing significant capital investment, and I'm sure they want to open, they're motivated to open as quickly as possible. So I thought for those that might be viewing our meeting, that people in the community would be interested to see this as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think that's pretty ambitious to think that they might be out by November and that the tenants are going to be done.
And this
Early
is
next
all
year?
outdoor
Yeah.
dining, so they're really, they've missed this season. Expect it to be in late spring.
Yeah.
That would be the time you'd want to open.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
First half of 2026, not,
Assuming all the TIs have been submitted, that they're ready for permit, which I doubt.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's,
that's up to them. But I think from members of the community, they do not, I don't think they understand the extent of Reno, and I don't think they understand all the different steps that need to go through to get through the process. So once the renovations are done and the building's operable again, then it's now available for tenant improvements. That's a whole nother cycle. Yeah. So it's going to be a while longer, but they're past the point of walking away. They're going to finish this. So, okay. Christopher, is this going to be your presentation, or Zach?
It's both of us.
Great.
So we're still on item 11. This is a report from staff, and it's identified as A, local coastal program updates. We last reported to you all, I think back in January, and that was a longer presentation. We're going to have another longer presentation on August 6th in about a month and a half. This one, we're just trying to get through in a few minutes to give you an update on what we've been going through with the parking study, and then, which I'm mostly leading, and then Christopher's primarily leading the geology analysis, and the consultant that we've hired for that. These are both components of the local coastal program, which is a $1.5 million grant from the Coastal Commission. So we showed you, I think, this slide back in January when we did our first data collection. The car wasn't quite as spiffy as that one, but we had 4 vehicles driving around town, in the coastal zone only, but in all the beach parking lots, and then along El Camino Real and along Del Mar, and then the streets where parking tends to spill over from our commercial zones, as well as the mixed-use zones. And we had data collection on a Thursday and a Saturday from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So it was 2-hour windows that they were driving the streets and surveying the same blocks over and over again, making observations. And this is just one plot. This one is from 10 a.m. on a Saturday. So as downtown starts to get a little busier, you're seeing the red areas are where there was, I think, like 90 to 95 or to 100% occupancy, and then the green areas where there was some street parking available on most blocks at 10 a.m. And again, this was in January. We're going to do our summer peak season survey in July 30th and August 2nd, again, a Thursday, Saturday. We expect that one will see more red.
Zach, just on this one, if you don't, can we ask as we go a little bit?
Yeah,
Is
go
that
for it.
all right? So 10 a.m., cool. Do you do again at 2 p.m., 5 p.m.?
It's every 2 hours, so 6 to
Okay.
8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2. It's labeled 10 a.m., but really it's a 2-hour data collection period.
Gotcha, perfect. Okay, great.
This is showing turnover on just 3 streets. We've got data, or the consultant has data on every block within the survey area. What this is showing is that actually most people parking observed the 2-hour time limits. These are non-paid, non-metered areas, but they are 2-hour time limited in downtown. And so the big bars are the people that were there for 2 hours or less. Then there's the little blips that were there for 2 to 4 and 4 to 6 hours, and nobody stayed the whole day on these blocks. So this incorporates the data going back from 6 a.m., 8, 10, 12, 2, and we see if the same car was still there or if the car left. That's done by license plate reader cameras. It's anonymized so that the vendor maintained that data and it gets deleted, but they essentially just on that given day check to see if there was any turnover. And then we've had a lot of public outreach to ask quantitative and qualitative questions of the public and the business owners. So we started in December of last year putting on the Glitz. We were at city-sponsored events at Earth Day and Cinco de Mayo, and then the car show, which is the SCDBA association. We had a booth, and we had iPads, and we had written surveys in English and Spanish. And I think we're at a few hundred public responses to our survey. There's also a public website where people can give their opinions, primarily on this slide, on how they want to see parking managed and other transportation demand management alternatives that people either fully support or partially support or are opposed to. That's what most of the questions are. A lot of people say they want to expand trolley service. We had at that same public outreach, we were also asking members of the public about some new trolley programs and grant funding that we have for that, and asking how they wanted the expanded trolley service to be programmed and what type of vehicles they were interested in. And then these are some other ideas from the consultant. There's a project website that goes through these ideas, and then there's an analysis of what other cities are doing and what the consultant has seen as best practices for both real dry parking standards as well as alternatives, alternative transportation demand management concepts. So again, we'll be coming back to you in August, and then with formal recommendations, the target is November to Planning Commission and December to the City Council. And those recommendations would be things that we need permission for, like modifying the zoning code to allow different parking tables or shared parking or parking in lieu fees. And then to the City Council potentially if we were asking for capital investments related to parking.
I'm sorry if I can interrupt again. This slide, you're telegraphing to us that our current zoning standards are going to be, you're going to come back with potential changes to it, as an quote update, to say, for example, we just went through this with 2 hotels, or the one, let's just take the Hotel Clemente on Del Mar with the parking. That was a major discussion. In fact, Commissioner Crandall and I had a special meeting with Jonathan to help with the staff report because there was challenges. And so the current is restaurant, right? We have a standard here, so it looks like you're comparing that to some of the adjacent cities, and is that with the idea that you might update this?
That is an idea, and that's the reason the consultant is looking at adjacent cities and looking at real technical definitions for number of seats versus number of usable square feet versus number of gross square feet. And then also looking at more broad concepts like in lieu fees. Right now we have the waiver program and options for sites that just can't meet the development standard as written.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily that we're going to reduce the development standard or that it'll be a free-for-all. We could recommend, more parking in certain land uses and less parking in others, or more flexibility like the in lieu fee option, or more flexibility where you provide for employee parking off-site or bicycle parking, or assist the city with capital improvements that would reduce parking demand.
All right, well, it's good to set the expectation that, and this will come to us for discussion and review at some point.
Yeah, we're planning a study session that'll be more open-ended, and we'll have a consultant present to you all, and we'll go into more detail.
Okay.
That'll be in August, and then the formal recommendation, we're targeting November.
Okay.
Could I interject something here? So I'm looking at this comparison with the first one, ADUs. So, I'm under the assumption that the state says there does not need to be a parking space. So are we able then to have a little more local control then and say, yes, we would like to have a space dedicated to an ADU, or not?
We are able to an extent, and right now our code does say we require 1 space per ADU, but there's a very broad exception required by the state, which says if you're within a half mile of transit, then you
Right.
don't have to provide
Which
any
is
parking,
most of-
which is most of our town. And it does depend how you define transit. For ADUs, that's a very broad definition. For other laws encouraging housing, we define transit a bit more conservatively.
Okay, it kind of answers my question, but doesn't. So we have a shuttle that is in walking distance to most of our areas here. So with that, and bus service and a train. So this doesn't look like it would apply then if we were able to dedicate 1 space per ADU, unless you are up on the hill, possibly.
That's how the code and the state law's been applied generally, that unless you're up on the hill or far away from the central transit service areas, then you don't have to provide parking.
Okay, thank you.
I think that was about the end. This slide was just showing we're coming back to you in August, Planning Commission, and then the request is for Christopher to update you on geo studies.
Next slide, please. Are you able to open the portal? No, you have to click on the picture, type in the password. What? Is that a wireless? Oh. Just 1 moment, please. Okay, so just to kind of bring us back to what this project's about, as part of the city's grant with the Coastal Commission, included a part for geology. First part of that was to collect data with an airplane, so aerial imagery and light type information that could be used by a geologist. We hired NGO to help us with this project, and the end goal is to inform a number of policy and regulation type changes that will be part of the local coastal program draft that will go to the Planning Commission to look at in the future. Our goal is later this year to bring to you. So there will be an opportunity for you to look at what the outcome of the recommendations that we get from this consultant, and to make informed recommendations. The project first starts with doing an analysis of the city's bluffs. So looking at geologic reports to get a sense of erosion rates, morphology. They're taking a lot of data from historical aerials and other sources that are available. And then they are taking that data and they are actually creating a pretty neat tool, this GIS-based tool that will be available at some point to the public. And you can go in here and this is maybe the main thing I should show you, is they're going through and they're creating these hazard zones, and those zones are going to, you will be able to like click on these features and it will provide some description of what those are. So we are working with them to define what these zones are. If you look at the grayed out areas, those are mesas. So those don't have, I can't say there's no hazard, but very low hazard. Then you have areas that are more expected to require more analysis when you're doing a project like a coastal bluff or a canyon and so on. And so they are creating these zones. There'll be a description of them. And the goal is to list out the type of hazards associated with the zones, so that when someone's doing a development project, they're creating a site-specific hazards report that they're supposed to do now. That's not a new thing. But this is to inform that report preparation that would go into the review of, if the city takes on permit authority, a coastal development permit for the project. Then to go with this, there's going to be a text document that describes these zones. It's going to talk more about the morphology of the bluff and so on. So I'm going to just kind of give you a sense of some of the layers in here. So there's old historical aerials that are in here. going back to 1932, and I'll just kind of go through the list. There's different hazard maps that are available from outside sources. Then you have a layer that we've prepared. It's here, so we have our environmental sensitive habitat areas. We have this layer that we created where we went through and tried to, in more detail, identify what the coastal canyons and bluffs and shoreline are. There's some areas that we've questioned whether they're really truly part of a canyon. We've gone through and tried to refine that data so that when we submit it as part of the local coastal program, we can get some consent on that, and that would help some property owners that currently identified as a canyon questionably. So the overall effort of this is to just overall put together a good quality local coastal program that will go before you at some point. So this just kind of gives you an idea. There's a lot of different layers in here, but this will be a tool at some point that will be available to the public. And then the next slide I have.
Before you go on, Christopher, is the intention of that geo map with the overlays, will it go into like the CAL FIRE zones? Will it go into liquefaction zones? How detailed is it going to be?
It's focused on geology. So the most relatable hazard beyond geology that would be part of this would be sea level rise. We're looking to probably put a layer in here for that because that would affect like erosion of the bluff and so on. So no, it's not going to be extensive and include every potential hazard.
So what
of
are
the city.
earthquake faults or liquefaction zones, would it include those?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Includes those. So all geology related
Okay,
items.
cool.
I just want to jump in. We had a call with the Coastal Commission today, and they also asked us about including some details on fire because that's a hazard too, and our local coastal program does have to address fire.
So you will do the CAL FIRE map overlay?
We still need to talk about it. I think that there's some different options available. Most likely, we'll need to submit some sort of hazards type map that will be part of the implementation plan, whereas the focus of this tool is more to be tied to the geologic hazards guidance document that they're preparing for us. So I don't know how heavy we want to make this and having every potential hazard, but that's something that we can discuss as we move forward.
Just from a user standpoint, you know, if someone wants to look for, let's say, the CAL FIRE hazards, I guess they could go to the CAL FIRE website. It just becomes a convenience, you know, for a resident. They can go here and see everything versus, oh, this is missing, I got to go figure out where that is. It's just, it's convenient too.
It is. So we have a GIS tool available to the public, the community maps, and that would be like an easy place to put that data.
Okay.
And maybe even this data can make its way there as well. So that's kind of I think an evolving topic and how we present it. This next slide, want to show some additional resources that will be provided at some point. They're going through, and we took drone photo along the coastal bluffs. That's been done in like the last couple months, and then the consultant is taking those photos and they're annotating them with various information related to geology, and that all this information is going to go to informing what should go into a site-specific geologic hazards report that someone must provide. my Adam, if there's any questions, happy to take them.
This is a pretty cool image right here.
Very insightful. Yeah.
Who's going to maintain this? I mean, I can see things changing, and it's going to be a major effort to keep updating this, especially if we get into the fire zones and all.
That's, yeah, annually.
I mean, that's going to be a huge effort, rather than referencing maybe the state or whoever on the fire things and things like that. Do you anticipate that?
I think on the data where there's an authoritative source, like the CAL FIRE for the fire maps, the city would in some way refer to that source, right? So not to take on additional responsibility. Whereas this, I think that it's likely we're going to be collecting aerial data every 5 to 10 years to monitor the city's coastal bluffs if we were to take on permit authority, or maybe even if we didn't finalize everything. And as part of that, just to continually have a current land use plan at the very least for coastal policy, then we would occasionally take on a consultant to update, for example, these graphics.
It will be done by AI.
Garbage in, garbage out.
It will be easily done by AI.
I think
We use that now.
just for the community that may be trying to follow this, Christopher, correct me if I'm wrong, but what the Coastal Commission grant is a collaborative effort to help us move into a transition period where the permitting authority moves from the Coastal Commission to the city. And that is where the LCP and this data all kind of come together. And when we transition from, well, that's going to coastal to, well, now that's going to city coastal review and permitting, which we currently do not do. We're currently not staffed for. We don't have the materials, we don't have the data. This is to prepare ourselves for that transition.
Correct.
Okay. So I think that's really important because that transition is will be a major milestone in this history of the city when we become the permitting authority for our coastal zone. And we no longer are looking to the state agency to do it on our behalf. And I don't know if you guys recall this, but early on, I think it was like maybe 2 years ago, but right after you guys when I first became chair, I held a study session collaboratively with staff to invite some of our key architects to give us feedback. And the number one thing that they told us in that study session is, when is the city going to get its LCP certified and be the coastal administrator so we don't have to go out to coastal? That was the number one thing they said that we could do to streamline the permitting process and make the development of the permit process faster. So I think what you're kind of saying, the context for this is, that's a lot of work to take that on. And what you're doing is you're showing us some of the building blocks that you're doing to make that transition. So I think this is important that we understand that and support you. So, and we try and keep up with you as you go. So it's not a big data dump on us that we have to suddenly absorb all this information. So I really appreciate you bringing this to us incrementally and allowing us to kind of get familiar with it as you guys are doing this. And I would definitely welcome a separate study session with the consultant to do a deeper dive into this. I think that's really great. And periodically updating us on the progress of the LCP as well, just because that is such an important change in our processing.
Yeah, just to add on, one of the motivations of making this a part of our grant application is related to these comments that you received from the members of the public, where a project, when it goes to Coastal Commission, especially on a coastal bluff, it can be quite a long process, of which there's some uncertainty on where the Coastal Commission will support a development in relationship to the coastal bluff, right? So there'll be a geology report that goes to the Coastal Commission, their geologist reviews it, and the project applicant's geologist reviews it, and there's this going back and forth and some interpretation of what the adequate hazard level should be, and then design elements that go with that, and also interpretation of some items in our coastal land use plan, because it's a policy document. They're not a set of regulations that are more definitive in guiding what sort of projects are allowed. So when we're writing an implementation plan that's supposed to provide that level of detail, the goal is to minimize that uncertainty so that if the city were to take on permit authority, it would be more of an efficient process for people, and we would be minimizing chances of the Coastal Commission appealing a decision of the city for a coastal bluff type project. So to get it right, we're trying to rely on an expert here.
Outstanding. Yeah, Steve.
So I don't know if this is related to what you're showing us here, but with the city taking on the role, the coastal review, would that likely be rolled into, the reviews that Planning Commission is currently doing, or would that be separate still, as it is now? Because now you have to get the, Planning Commission or City Council approval and then go to coastal.
It would be a
I
part
don't
of
know if
the
you even know.
Oh, it'd be a part of the process, like you're familiar with. Like, if something goes to the Planning Commission, it would be a concurrent part of that process.
Okay. So that's a big benefit to the applicants.
That's why I was saying what I said. That's a sea change in how things get done. It could cut years off of a project approval process. But I want everyone up here to understand the bar is going to be raised on us to understand some of these moving parts, because that will become part of our scope of review going forward. When that permitting authority shifts from coastal to the city, these elements will be part of that application review. That's why I'm encouraging staff to bring this forward and keep us learning as we go, as they are learning.
Yeah, Chris, let me ask you a question. Even once we get the LCP, there are parcels and locations that Coastal Commission's not going to relinquish, and going to want to keep, aren't there?
Zach, maybe you can answer that.
Well, you had the experience the last time with the discussion about the mobile home park. That is an area that the Coastal Commission has defined as regional jurisdiction and subject to, I forget, they have a term that says they want to keep it, the mobile home park area. And as it is now, city planning doesn't get real deep into the mobile homes because that's deferred to the state community development department for pre-manufactured homes.
The remodels and everything in there, so.
Yeah, so probably we still won't have that. The Coastal Commission could ask, it's called retained permit jurisdiction. They could ask to retain other areas, or they could insist upon it. Potentially part of the state park they might want to retain. But we would be responsible for all the bluff top properties, for these small landslides and for determining the positioning of a house on a lot. That would be us, and we would try to do it, as Christopher said, in an efficient and clear process so that it was fair to the applicant and also so that the Coastal Commission didn't appeal those decisions.
Which they have the right to appeal.
Yeah, so in Laguna Beach, they've been appealing a lot of bluff top determinations because the city's code was a little bit unclear.
Because the majority of projects that you're going to see are going to be off of the bluff, but still in the Coastal Commission, that are pretty generic, and right now, people still have to go to the Coastal Commission for that. Those are the ones that are really going to benefit, big time.
So the city would be able to make determinations on exemptions, for example. And right now, if you want an exemption, you have to file an application with the Coastal Commission and submit it, and It's an extensive application. And the city's exclusion order, something that we're also going to be looking to do is to update that and potentially include new types of projects that could be excluded. So it wouldn't even be an exemption, as well as adding some areas that make sense. So yeah, the whole effort is to provide more clarity and a faster process.
One more key area, if I may, that would really benefit the city is public works projects. So city-initiated projects, those have to go to the Coastal Commission and frequently do take years to be reviewed. And so we want to define city-initiated projects and critical infrastructure specifically, and likely have different even standards of what may be permitted when it's a essential public infrastructure project versus a private development. And then have those projects, the methodology would likely be Public Works coming to the Planning Commission for a permit or issuing their own permit if it was de minimis.
Excellent. Thanks very much for staying late tonight, Christopher, and giving us this report. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Is there any other questions for staff? Okay. That concludes item 11. So before we adjourn, now would be the time to share our expressions of gratitude to Commissioner Crandall. Would you like to lead off, Scott?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This is not easy. Bart.
You get emotional? Oh, come on.
I was.
Gotta love it.
First of all, I'd like to second everything that's been said, particularly earlier regarding Bart and the resolution, I'm thinking that no one on their deathbed ever said, I wish I was on planning commission for 2 more years. So maybe it's a good time, Bart. The city and we have been extraordinarily lucky and benefited for Bart's service to the city. And it's been lots of sacrifice and service, including the DRC, which sometimes gets overlooked and underappreciated, but that's, there's a lot of effort and that goes into that. And having, Bart and Steve there, quite frankly, with all of their talent and skill is just unbelievably beneficial to the city. You're leaving a huge hole for us. Thank you for being a mentor. You've been a great example. You're absolutely the GOAT planning commissioner. And I didn't think about it early enough, but I wish I would have made T-shirts.
You don't get that label until you're really old.
No, that's not true. Look at Tom Brady or Michael Jordan. I should have had T-shirts made that had like Bart Crandall GOAT, and had like a goat with his head on it. So anyway, thank you for everything, Bart, and I propose that Bart offer the motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Appreciate that. And I would say, I hope the 3 of you make way onto the design review. You know why it's there, the purpose of it, what we can do, that we're working with the applicant to get their project approved, and carry on the tradition.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I shared a couple things.
There we go.
I shared a couple things in front of your wife. Uh-oh. Well, that was purposeful. So that she, I'm sure she knows, but so that she
Well, we're coming up on
was
55
aware.
years this year.
Wow.
55. And so it was a pleasure meeting her. But yeah, I mean, it's been a huge benefit for me, just in the last 4 years, having you to kind of look over and,
Copy his notes.
He's still waiting to get another church project in here somewhere. So, yeah, and I'm very appreciative, I think, as a group, and, me as an individual as well. Because coming in here was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I presented projects,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of them, from that side. But being,
It's different.
Well, and, unfortunately, a lot of times I walked away from those thinking, "Yeah, those guys don't know what they're doing, But I never had that And, you know, you compare your own city with other cities, you know, and we've been able to do that. So I think you've lent a great deal of skill and professionalism that most planning commissions don't have. And I know that from experience, so. And you do too, probably, but, so that's, you know, just another statement about your skill level and being willing to share that for 14 years. It's pretty impressive.
One thing to remember to value is staff.
Yeah.
You know, it's their career, it's their job. They're trying to do their best, and they're a bit of a buffer between the public and us. And that's not always a fun job.
Except they use us on
You
design.
don't get rewarded for, you don't get rewarded for that very often,
They use us as a buffer on the design review subcommittee sometimes.
to some degree, but that's all right.
Which is fine, which is
A little
fine.
give and take is good.
Anyway, thanks. Thanks for your service.
My pleasure, thank you. I'm not used to this.
Yeah, it's well-deserved, though.
Thank you.
Thought, Sharon? Karen?
Couple of thoughts. I jotted down, sitting next to Bart, it's been an honor tonight. Not that I don't love sitting next to Scott, but, you know, I'm
This
here.
was kind of nice.
This is this is the teacher, and I was doing crib notes and cheating on my exam because I get to sit next to the expert. So I just jotted down a couple of thoughts here of what I heard tonight about Bart. These are admirable qualities that really has made an impact to our community and to your colleagues. So you are a mentor, you provide civility, you're a visionary, you provide the fairness, professionalism, you are indeed a legend. Wisdom and foresight. You ask the hard questions and you provide the follow-up, that kind of closer. You're the closer, by the way. You have the expertise rather than just opinion. And for your colleagues here, it has been a complete honor to serve next to you for all these years.
Well, thank you very much.
And you are a treasure to the city. So the last thing I heard tonight that resonated was, and don't be a stranger. So I hope that you'll sit in the audience and you'll stare us down when you're like, is that really where you want to go? So I'm hoping for that. So I wish you well and enjoy the grandkids.
Well, I hope everybody here at the end of their tenure enjoyed it as much as I did. There's no reason to get so tied up in it that it eats you up. You do what you can, and that's all you can do.
Again, the words of wisdom.
Yep, yep. When Bart first called me to tell me of his decision, which he was smart, he did it after the application period was closed. He did not give me the opportunity to talk him out of it. So he had clearly made his decision, right? The timing, right?
Well, I also felt that the people we had on can carry on with no problem.
And I thought that's a vote of confidence for all of us, right? I want to acknowledge that we've all together come along, because all of us, you Scott, and Steve, myself, and Karen, we all got on here together at the same time. And so we're kind of this class, right, that's kind of moved through. And
Breakfast Club.
and Bart was sort of our, the senior guy who kind of held our hand until we could kind of stand on our own 2 feet. So I think that's why we appreciate you so much, is that we all together, But the one thing I wanted to share is as we talked about it, I think you would want me to convey this. He is only a phone call away.
Yep.
Anytime. So I would like to just say, in terms of my thoughts, is that I feel like your impact on San Clemente is really just, it's woven into our streets and our neighborhoods, and really the identity of our Spanish Village by the Sea. I think your work is really going to be, it's not just appreciated today by us, but it will be by the future. They may not know who you were, but they're definitely going to enjoy living in San Clemente because of what you did.
Well, thank you, and I'd say another thing to remember is you may not agree with them, and you may think they overstepped their bounds, but always listen to the Historic Society, and, they're sometimes on one side of the scale, and you end up in the middle, but it's valuable that they keep reminding us. And I give them a lot of credit for fighting a good battle, too.
Keep holding us accountable to the original vision
Yeah, exactly.
that Dolly Hansen had for our
I
town.
mean, we can't always satisfy them completely, but I appreciate
They're a stakeholder. It was
pushing
yeah,
us.
Yeah. With that, and I would like to let you adjourn us, but I would like to just add that we do it in honor of our friendship to you, Bart.
Oh, thank you.
So if you would like to make the motion,
I move we adjourn to the next regular meeting of the Planning Commission. Will be scheduled for Wednesday, July 16th at 6 PM, and will be held at the San Clemente City Hall Council Chambers located at 910 Calle Negocio, second floor, San Clemente, and I will see a couple of you at Design Review next week.
yeah, are we adjourning to that meeting? Because I thought the TFA said we're dark in July. Are you guys just going to cancel it, or do you?
We have an item.
We do? Okay,
And I did give everyone a TFA.
Yes.
just
okay, very good.
what's going on, yeah.
All right, I'll second that motion. It's hard to say this, but all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, my friend.
I will keep in touch.